Hi there. Welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. We've got another escapade on our slate today. This one, escapade number 6. And heck, we're almost done. Or we're close to being done anyway. And then we can start the second game, which I'm sure it will be a good time. But anyway, let's not waste any more time and go straight into episode 6. In Mr. Natsume's room. I assume this is after the 4th case, but before he formally left for Japan. Not exactly sure where it fits in timeline-wise. Also, man, this fella sure likes his books. Has he even read all these, the bad boys? Or is he what they call a hoarder, you know? So, Mr. Natsume. Are you really returning home? To Japan? There he is. Okay, so this is before he actually left formally back to Japan. Yes, indeed I am. Everything is arranged already. We'll be sad to see you go. And after Runo worked so hard to prove your innocence as well. What a shame. It feels like it was all a wasted effort. I mean, I wouldn't go that far. Like, if he had not been proven innocent, he wouldn't even be able to go back to Japan. He'd be in prison still, so I wouldn't say it's a wasted effort. Don't say that! I know what you're suggesting! Now calm down, Mr. Natsume. It's all fine, really. Oh, hi. I see you've, partaken in another book. Also, man, you only make a fucking throne of books. Also, like, geez, some of these are really large. Like, I know it's probably just perspective, but, like, the one that the candle is sitting on top of, like, it looks like you would, like, kill someone with it if you hit them hard enough. Is that, like, an encyclopedia or something of the sort? You are in good company here, sir. If you fear the Reaper, you needn't hide the fact. I am a proud citizen of the Empire of Japan! I'm not a scaredy cat! Somehow I doubt that. Also, pretty sure, is that going to be the title of your upcoming book? I am not a cat. Or no, it's I am a cat. Well, either way. Talking of cats, Mr. Sholmes just casually threw one among the pigeons there. Wait, you threw a cat? What the fuck, man? You can't just go on throwing cats. A man like me belongs to Japan, not here. That's what I've come to realize. I wonder. A mustache such as yours is eminently suited to London, I would say. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure at this time, I forget exactly what, well, apparently there was a beard tax in Japan some time ago. I'm not sure what the culture is around mustaches in Japan around this time. I feel like they're more like into beards instead of mustaches, whereas mustaches seem pretty common fashionably among London's citizens, from what I've seen. There goes Mr. Sholmes throwing another cat in. What do you mean throwing cats? Why is he throwing cats at people? What the fuck? Unless he means, like, metaphorically. The moment I arrived in the city, I noticed. Everyone in London laughed at me behind my back. Like hyenas. Hysterical hyenas ha-ha-ha-ing horribly. I'm sure that's not true, Mr. Natsume. Oh, but it is. Whenever I turn around and peer down the fog-filled streets, all I see is foreigners everywhere. Well, there's you, Runo, and Susie in here, so that's 3 foreigners out of 5 people. I take your point. Only the other day, I was taking a stroll through the fog as usual, when a young man approached me from ahead. He was pale and gaunt, his back arched like a cat. Observing his wretchedness moved me so deeply. Ah, I thought to myself, I'm not the only one suffering in this hell. But, do you know what? Can you imagine? It was just my own reflection in a shop window. Oh, jeez. That's a little depressing. Yeesh. A stunning, stinging, stupefying surprise! Don't forget slap in the face. Everyone started laughing at me. Gentlemen thereabouts, ladies passing by, even the man in the shop window. Ah, yes, and a certain great detective would like to be included among the mirthful. Oh, come on, Sherlock, don't fucking kick a man when he's down. That's in rather poor taste, you know. Ah, Mr. Sholmes was really going for Saseki-san today. Yeah, apparently, just fucking throwing bombs, even when they're not really requited. Well, I for one think you're a very handsome man, Mr. Natsume. There, did you hear that? This 10-year-old girl thinks you're handsome. Isn't that wonderful? That makes me feel suspiciously warm inside. He looks genuinely delighted. The point is, we Japanese are humble and modest. Studying on foreign soil, surrounded by foreign people? How could anyone possibly enjoy that? No one could. It's impossible if you're a genuine Japanese. I mean, if you say so. Actually, it would appear that there is someone, a Japanese man who studied in a foreign country and seems to have thrived on the experience. There is? Mr. Ogai Mori. I believe he studied in Germany. Mr. Mori, pray, tell us more of the fellow. Well, today he's a very successful author in Japan. Oh, I've heard of him. He's the professor who wrote My Hime, isn't he? My Hime? I suppose in English the title would be Dancing Queen, maybe? Dancing Queen? Young and sweet? Only 17, I think the song goes. Oh, I see. A tale of a woman who waltzed her way through the world, perhaps. You really need to make up a silly translation, you know. It's already officially called The Dancing Girl in English. It seems Mr. Mori greatly enjoyed his time in Germany. He became close with a local lady while he was there. Close, you say? With a local lady? A compatriot's criminally contradictory conduct! Well, I suppose your experience of studying abroad depends to a large extent on your character. As they say, many men, many minds. Mr. Mori has an open mind. Mr. Natsume, a closed one. Come on, Sholmes, I feel like you're being a little harsh. Natsume is clearly a bit rather troubled, you know? You gotta cut him a little slack. Possibly a slightly black and white view, do you think, Mr. Sholmes? Well, anyway, if that's how you feel about being abroad, why did you choose to study here? Wasn't it to, like, further our nation's understanding of the English language or something? Yes, that's right. So, what were you doing in Japan before you came to Great Britain then? I was a school teacher. Of English, of course. A bit cursory, perhaps, but I've managed to discover some information about Mr. Natsume's teaching days. Damn, Cesaro, you have fucking You really do have all kinds of random knowledge in that book of yours. Even fucking information about a guy who isn't even famous at this point, time spent teaching in Japan. That's just a little outside the field of law, isn't it, Mrs. Otto? Yeah, I would think. Well, let me pose you a question, Mr. Naruhodo. If you had to translate the English phrase, I love you, into Japanese, what would it become? What would it become? Oh, I know this one. It's, the moon is beautiful, isn't it? Or something along those lines. You see, I remember that because I played Persona 4, and I remember that question coming up in the school, during school days. Because apparently, Soseki Natsume is a pretty famous author, or a pretty acclaimed author in Japan. So I guess that anecdote, clearly it's lingered over the years if it was featured as a question in Persona 4 as something that high school students would know, So yeah, the moon is beautiful, isn't it? That's my final answer. Lock me in, Regis. Ha! That's easy. Aishiteru, or Suki desu. Wrong, motherfucker! Haha. Wrong. According to Mr. Natsume's teachings, at least. No, what? Would you like to explain, Mr. Natsume? Yes, of course. Your research is very thorough. I always used to tell my students that we Japanese don't express ourselves that way. Rather, we might say, Tsuki ga kiru desu ne. Apologies, as I am not a Japanese person. So I feel like I probably didn't pronounce that as super great, but oh well. My dear Mr. Natsume, I must interject. Tsuki ga kiru desu ne would translate as Tsuki kagere desune would translate as the moon is beautiful, isn't it? Damn, since when did you know Japanese, Mr. Sholmes? I know that! The point is that we Japanese are reticent when it comes to expressing our emotions. We prefer to show our feelings of adoration, Tsuki, by appreciating the beauty of the moon. The, Tsuki. Ah, I see. It's a bit of wordplay. Something of a double meaning, I see. Using the Tsuki to express Suki. It's an amusing play on words, I see. Yeah, it's interesting. No! Or in language you might understand better, bad Sholmes. Bad! It's not a play on words. It's subtle, it's humble, it's fleeting and beautiful. It's art, man. Isn't it just, being shy? My dear fellow, the foreign dancing girl will forever be out of your reach with such an attitude. Come on, man. I feel like you're bullying the poor man. Imagine how the great Mr. Morley would act. He would win the lady's heart in a flash with a well-placed and unrestrained, I love you. That smooth Mr. Morley! Am I destined to live in his shadow forever? Just what sort of man is he in that imagination of yours? The fact is, I just can't settle in this foggy London town with all its foreign inhabitants. I've lost count of the number of different lodgings I've tried before I found myself here. As it happens, I even lived on Baker Street at one time. No, really? A Sao scholar lives near there. A man by the name of William James Craig. His knowledge of Sao is unsurpassed. He's been a great inspiration to me over the... Forgive the interruption, but, am I supposed to be familiar with this Sao of which you speak? It's Shakespeare, of course. It's Shakespeare. But in Japanese, we write it as Sa and O. It's a phonetic representation using kanji characters. So England is Igirisu and America is America. Come to think of it, we use the same character as Ri in one word and Risu in another. Talk about confusing. Okay, yeah, seems like it. So Shakespeare is Sao in Japanese. Presumably the Sa is a brutal attempt at the first Sha. In which case, where is the Kispir? Oh, I never thought of that. We only have the O left. Which could, even in this channel interpretation, only be a brutal attempt at old man. Okay, I feel like there's other things it could be. It seems to me that whoever had the job of deciding on his characters for his name got bored very early on. Complete kanji character catastrophe. So then, on to the burning question. What about me? How do you write my name? Sorry. Herlock Sholmes, my dear fellow. There must be Japanese characters for my name. Oh dear. I am sorry, Mr. Sholmes, but none exist that I'm aware of. What? Am I really nothing to you Japanese? I mean, I feel like you're more popular in your home country. I'm not sure if, at least at this point in time, the Sholmesian experience is really translated to the Japanese populace. Though apparently, I mean these days, apparently fucking Holmes is a fairly popular adaptation source in Japanese culture. I mean, you got Sherlock Bones, an anime with a talking like dog detective, and you have Sherlock Hound, in which it's Sherlock Holmes, but everyone's an anthropomorphic dog. And not to mention, there's also, I think, Milky Holmes, I think is another anime thing, where like Holmes is like a lolly magical girl detective thing. I don't know. I'm not familiar with it, the contents, but I've heard of Milky Holmes. So, in due time, Sholmes, my good man. In due time, you'll get your proper Japanese respect. Yeah, in that case, it's a matter of paramount importance. You must construct my name in kanji at once. Oh, well, we could use a kanji that's pronounced, so, to start with, and then use one more to give, so, oh, perhaps? I think that would be about right, Mr. Sholmes. So, oh. Well, that's almost the same as Sao, isn't it? Yes, you employed the dreaded O. Oh, I don't want people to confuse me with an old man who died centuries ago. I'm sure the world's greatest literary figure would rather not be confused with you either. Damn, fucking roast his ass for Inosuke. I guess even at this point in time, Shakespeare was pretty well acclaimed. Well, the world's greatest detective is still youthful and full of vigor, so how about, I don't know, so handsome? I'm pretty sure there's not a kanji for that. Or I don't think there's like one letter that would represent handsome. Oh yes, that sounds wonderful. I'm sure everyone will be calling you that 100 years from now. I don't know about that one, pal. How could she say that with a straight face? I mean, being a fangirl will cloud you to the realities of life. What about me then? Iris. Perhaps Hime, since the second character doesn't seem to matter. Hime? Oh yes. Princess of Love. That's an adorable name for you, Iris. Geez, what is she, a fucking magical girl? Stop! Please! With a name like that, Mr. Mori is likely to turn up at any moment and rash to declare, I love you! This Mori-san has become quite a character in Sozeki-san's mind. Maybe Sholmes shouldn't have brought him up to psychologically torment him. And you, Mr. Naruhodo? Might I venture Kurobozu as a fitting name for you, as in the Dark Monk? Oh, that's very good! It describes you perfectly, Runo. Yeah, because I'm a monk. I know, okay, I wear dark clothes, but I'm not sure exactly what is monk-like about me. So you think I'll be wearing this black foster uniform for the rest of my days, do you? But Mr. Naruhodo already has a Japanese name. I don't believe he needs another. Yeah, he's literally, yeah, like, is Ryunosuke Naruhodo not good enough for you fucks? Well, anyway, we were talking about your life here in London, weren't we, Mr. Natsume? You should just get out and have fun. You know, like, it's so easy. The landlady said as much to me, too. Mrs. Garadev? But it wasn't fun at all. It was frightful. Relatable. Whatever do you mean? A cycle incident! An incident? On a bicycle? Oh yes, come to think of it. Oh yeah, he did have a bicycle outside of his lodgings. There's an old bicycle parked just outside, isn't there? It's in a sorry state, though. I tried to say no to her, but she insisted I took it for a ride. Perhaps my pronunciation was wrong. So I took my life in my hands and attempted to ride the steel spiderweb stallion to a nearby park. I really don't think there's anything wrong with your pronunciation, Mr. Natsume. Joan Garadev just isn't the kind of woman to take no for an answer. That's for sure. If you're going to die, you might as well die in beautiful surroundings. So the park was my first thought. After a whole day of dicing with death, I emerged with only relatively minor bruises. Hey, that's not so bad. So, you got the knack of it. I mean, hell, I don't even know how to ride a bike, so I would consider that an absolute win. Don't be silly! Dying isn't something you can learn to do. I mean, I guess it just kind of happens when it happens, right? Mr. Natsume, you keep talking about dicing with death and dying and so forth, but, riding a bicycle is supposed to be, like, fun, isn't it? Oh, no. That's just what people tell you. But it's an old wives' tale. Is it? I mean, just consider the real name of the vehicle. It's not called a dicycle for nothing. How could anyone expect us to use such an aptly named vehicle to move forward is beyond me. Pedal power promises pain. I didn't think it was possible to get worse with practice. I mean, hey, it happens to the best of us. I'm lucky to be alive. Although, I must say, after looking death in the eye for a whole week, I did at least manage to mount the steed reliably. And notwithstanding a few wobbles, I found I could make progress in the forward direction. What a triumph. Hey, I mean, baby steps, am I right? You know? And deduction is much the same. When first presented with a problem, the mental exertion of trying to solve it leads only to bitter disappointment. But after a week of picking one's way carefully along the path of reasoning and thought, one begins to see results. So, is that why all of your off-the-cuff deductions always seem half-baked? Oh, what a wonderful insight into your extraordinary mind, Mr. Sholmes. Unfortunately, after wobbling down the street, I noticed that there were little stones everywhere. Death traps. Not that way, I said to myself. But the wild vehicle wouldn't listen. It wobbled me on and on down the street. So of course, I hit one of those deadly stones, and the crazy colt threw me. It's just my luck. Dicycles are the epitome of my pitiful life. I wish I could disagree. On the same subject, I'm sure there's a famous American author who's written about having a similar experience. Oh yes, I've read that essay too, Iris. Some of us have better read than others. Well, no more bicycles for me. Oh, Mr. Natsume, at least you have an interesting anecdote to take with you. Back to Japan, if nothing else. You always manage to put a positive spin on things, don't you, Mrs. Otto? Personally, I haven't mounted a bicycle for some time. No, me neither. Oh, that's good. So, how about a jaunt? We shall all ride out together. Huh? Oh, that sounds great. I'll perch behind Mrs. Otto. But, the sun is going down. It'll be pitch black before long. London street lamps are very bright, you know. And the fog isn't too thick today. And my beloved ride is all bent out of shape. My dear fellow, if you're bound to topple the vehicle anyway, it's fitting that it's already bent out of shape. It's settled then. Come along, Mr. Natsume. Shall we go? I feel like we're just gonna make him want to leave sooner rather than later. Suki ga kire desune. Don't tell me that's his translation of no thank you as well. Indeed, Mr. Natsume. The moon is at its most beautiful at precisely this time in the evening. Oh. We're not Japanese. You can't beat around the bush with us. What a weird and wonderful world. Yeah, that's one way of saying it, I suppose. Oh, Sozeki-san, you strange little man. Well, that was a interesting anecdote and interesting exchange of cultural differences, I suppose. It was nice to see Mr. Natsume again, though it seems like he's rather an unlucky fellow. I mean, to be fair, I can relate to having trouble riding a bike. I remember when I was a kid and I was learning to ride. I felt like at times I got the hang of it, but I don't know, after a certain point, I don't know, it loses its luster, I think. But anyway, I think that's enough for now. We've only got 2 more escapades left. And so it'll be interesting to see what those last two offer, you know? And even more interestingly, and once we get to the second game, I imagine things will get even more interesting. But I've been enjoying these little escapades, you know? They're enjoyable little stories that kind of add a little extra flavor, a little extra filler. And besides, you actually do learn some interesting story, or interesting bits of character from these guys. So yeah, I've been digging them, and I kind of wish there was more, to be honest. Like presumably for the second game, you know. But then again, maybe they couldn't fit those in. Who knows? Anyway, next episode we will tackle the next escapade. But until then, I will see you around.